think 2020 was a reset. 2021, I'm calling it the bounce back year because, a lot of things lined up, especially for the athletes. It's going to be about their performance. Can they pick up where they left off, get right back into things? Coaches, I think it's going to be their system, system in place. Fans and parents itching to see the athletes get back to things. But really want to talk about the guidelines and restrictions. And what have you guys heard in the community, the sports community, in order to take steps to get our kids back onto the playing fields?
Who you want to answer?
Yeah, anybody, just go ahead and chime in, Marty, if you want to start it off.
Well, of course, most people know me. I'm the AD at GW. And we've been having meetings once a week for the last month, maybe 2 months, and trying to establish the protocols for the sports that we hope to play in third quarter. So we've been working hard on them. They're almost set in place, but things change. So the protocols are constantly changing as well. So it's a challenge, but it's a worthwhile challenge if we can have high school sports again.
And I think the number one thing would be the masks and which sports are we looking at. Indoor sports, I've seen, athletes will probably have to wear them all the time. Outdoor sports, it varies. But what have you guys heard about the mask protocols?
And I guess I'll go again. Nobody seems to be talking. Come on, guys.
This is the Marty show right now.
Apparently, right? Like Dave said, there's sports where you can wear a mask and there's sports where maybe you can't, but it really varied. I've seen, not high school, collegiate women's volleyball where every player wore a mask. The University of Oklahoma football team months ago were practicing with masks, and people complain, I won't get enough oxygen with my mask. There's really not a lot of scientific evidence about that, but it's more of a personal thing. You realize your breathing is a little bit restricted, so you won't perform as good because you don't think you're getting what you need to perform. So
wearing a mask walking through the grocery store is completely different from, a running back or something playing in a sport. So you obviously have to kind of adjust things that way.
But there was a CDC report the other day, and I can't find the report again. They were, suggesting that everybody wear a mask, no matter what the sport is or where the sport is. And that was the first time I've seen that. It's always been saying, maybe football and the high intensity sports don't need the mask. But the other day they said everybody should, so it goes back and forth where it is.
Well, beach volleyball just made their introduction to the sports program recently. And Chris, I'm sure the beach volleyball players are dying to get back. And those are one of the sports that we can definitely see a push making a return because it's outdoors, there's a few number of people, and the distancing shouldn't be a problem there.
Yeah, I think it has a good chance. Like you said, the numbers are limited. Being outdoors, we have a really nice space up at GFA where we can keep people socially distant. So there's some positive an outlook for beach volleyball to possibly happen if, of course, we're still waiting for the government to say that organized competition is allowed. That really hasn't been announced yet. So we're kind of in the same boat with ESA. We're looking at the science, making plans, making protocols, guidelines, and all those are subject to change on any given day because it's such a fluid situation. So we're hopeful. I think both sides are hopeful, and it would be really great for the kids to get back out. I know they're dying to get out and do something, and even just to see their friends in person, even if it is 6 feet apart or whatever it may be, they just want that camaraderie again. So that's something I'm definitely looking forward to.
As a sports fan, watching the national sports come back, the NBA when they were playing in the bubble, football now, college football, you've got all these sports those leagues, those billion-dollar leagues, have the money to be able to implement these restrictions and these protocols. You guys, unless you have a huge million-dollar budget and you've been holding out on us, we'd love to hear about that. But without that kind of funding, how are you guys having to kind of navigate these challenges?
That is a key question, because some of the guidelines that we have in place, you know, they call for materials to be there in terms of sanitation and whatnot, to have the ability to clean and wipe your hands and all that stuff, and all the signage that we need to put up, and all that does cost money. So it's just a community effort as a whole amongst the schools to try to do the best we can, but it's going to take help from everybody. So hopefully sometime, you know, who knows, maybe January or February we can get something started. At least that's what I'm hoping for.
Are you looking at maybe donations? Like if somebody's got a pallet of masks or hand sanitizer, would that stuff be welcome, or how is that working?
Oh, no, yes, for sure.
Welcome.
Or $1 million budget, you'd accept that, I'm sure.
Yeah, we can handle that.
It would be nice.
Well, reading an article, the Gov sent out, you know, saying that, you know, there can be some type of training for athletes and eventually tryouts. But I think that was just more just opening the communication line and allowing the coaches and athletic directors to speak to their athletes. So is everything just going to be virtual for right now until they're able to meet, or how's that going to go?
If you want to go, Marty?
It doesn't matter, Chris. We can off each other. At GW, I've reached out to the coaches for the sports that we're hoping to have first, and I've contacted the school and asked the school to send a message to every teacher with what we're hoping to do. So we're hoping that the message will get out there, that we're trying to do something in January if we can. Like Chris says, it depends on the government. Okay, we're trying to tell the athletes it's okay, go out there, start exercising, but do it with yourself. Don't go find a friend down the street. You know, let's keep it safe, keep your distance, wear your mask, all that stuff. So hopefully we can get things moving.
Yeah, and we're trying to make sure we get all the coaches the COVID training that they need for coaching. We also trying to get the coaches that even are not going to be coaching, all of our coaches. We're looking at the low risk sports first, and that's what we're trying to go start with. Things like cross country, tennis, that you don't have a lot of contact, and the heavy contact sports. We're going to wait and see how the government reacts and what we are allowed to do and what we can do and can't do. So,
and I think that's key. You know, you've seen coaches like in football get coached up on the heads up football, where the safety of the athletes is priority. And now with the pandemic going on, parents want to know that, hey, if I'm going to release my child to these coaches, that they have the students' interests and safety obviously at the forefront. So you have obviously your training, getting them trained up, but obviously giving parents, you know, that peace of mind that they can, you know, let their kids go out there, play the sport they love, and be safe doing it.
Yeah, and that's the difficulty we probably have is the parents. I mean, the kids want to play. That's not no brainer. But the parents are the ones that can make the ultimate decision. So we got to get their trust, and we got to get, you know, we're still working on it, like Marty said earlier. I mean, we don't have the $1 billion budget like you were talking about earlier with the testing athletes 3 times a week before they play. So we got to make do with what we got. And that's the difficult problem, is getting the parents, because I got athletes telling me they want to play, but the parents said no. So that's going to be an issue. We may not have the turnouts that we would normally have because it is a pandemic.
Yeah, and that's another thing I wanted to ask. Are the athletes required to have a test? And while the season's ongoing, when we do get back, what's the testing going to be like for athletes?
As far as I know, and I can't really speak for DOE, but as far as I know from DOE, they're not requiring the athletes to have a test. It's just it's not feasible, especially right now. Guam doesn't have enough tests, and then to test every athlete, you know, and like Marvin said, you know, and in the mainland where they have the money and whatnot, they do it maybe twice a week or something, you know. It would be ideal if we could do that, but I don't think it's feasible.
Would there be enough time to get our athletes grades back up to where they need to be, physicals, in order for them to make sure that they are clear to play?
Yes. Yeah, well, they're going to have a physical. That's a no-brainer. You know, we're going to have a physical so they can participate in any kind of activity. Grades are the same thing, and that's a difficult problem we have now because we have kids that are, you know, just I don't know if they're just not holding up their part of the deal, and they won't be able to play if they don't have the grades and they don't have the physicals. They definitely probably won't be able to play.
Well, that's, you know, that's before the pandemic, during the pandemic. I mean, if your grades aren't up, you can't play. So that's part of being a student athlete. And you guys, I'm sure you talk to athletes constantly. You're in contact with your athletes. How are the seniors dealing with this? The ones that maybe missed that last season, how are you kind of helping them cope with this?
No, that's a pretty interesting question for me, because my daughter is a senior, and she's gotten to the point now. We were talking the other day, and she told me, she said, "Dad, I miss sports. I really want to get out and play, but really all I want is to have a graduation. That's all I want." And so, I mean, that's where her mind is. She wants to be able to go across the stage and do all that stuff and have actual physical graduation. If sports happen, great. So yeah, it's hard on the seniors for sure.
Yeah, we got to do some kind of makeup season or something for these guys when this is all over. Let's just have a little, tournament, an invitational. All seniors come out, show us what you got.
That's not a bad idea.
That'd be cool.
Nope.
And what about the venues? The upkeeps of the field? I know during these times, a lot of the fields haven't been cut outside, but school property, have they been upkept? And when, we do get back to play, is it just, right back into things, or are there going to be some maintenance issues?
There's always maintenance. It's stops.
Definitely going to be some maintenance issues with the fields, because they've been cut once a month, but the upkeep is not as like another concern is the budgets. We don't have the money up that the state schools have when it comes to preparing fields and stuff. We don't even have the facilities that they have, but DOE has been doing some things. We finally got an air conditioning working in Southern High School, so we have so we're good there.
I wanted to get Doug in here. We wanted to talk to you about this. We didn't bring you in just so you could sit there and look pretty. We wanted to hear your perspective too. But we saw, Dave and I, all last year before this, we saw the momentum that UOG was building in their athletics, of really putting these great squads together, really, recruiting some high quality talent. So how have you been able to kind of navigate keeping that momentum going when all activities basically have ceased?
Well, for the moment, it's pretty much ceased. We do have, the coaches did do some recruiting. Of course, it's kind of went out the door. More than likely, I doubt seriously if we will play this year, more for financial reasons than for athletic reasons, just because our field house and athletics are kind of tied together, and we've lost $100,000+ on the field house side. So it's really affecting overall athletics. But right now, we really do plan on coming back in the fall. Hopefully we'll be playing in the fall, and hopefully we got men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball. We plan on adding baseball and women's rugby come the fall. So hopefully we'll kick back in with 6 sports instead of 4 to try to capture some of that momentum to go forward. And we actually have one volleyball club team practicing here right now we've started to learn our protocols and stuff, that they have to get the temperature check, have to hand sanitizer, We do shoe sanitizer as they go in the gym, so that their shoes are sanitized when they go in. We've got like the volleyball club team. They've got about 20, 25 girls showing up. They fully wear masks when they're out there practicing. And one of the things that we had to do, because we actually had like 3 teams practicing after the first lockdown got over, but we learned very quickly that parents can be some of the worst rule breakers that we got. So every time I walk back into the gym and we have parents in the bleachers, masks are off, they were talking to non-family members. So at least this time around for this practice, we don't allow parents in the gym. They can just drop off their kids, and the only adults in there are the actual coaches. So we've learned a bit, but hopefully we will come back. We had good momentum. I think we got esports going right now that's kind of keeping some momentum going. But hopefully come the fall, we'll add a couple of sports and build that excitement. But of course, we want the high schoolers playing so we can recruit some of them and see them play.
And you bring up a good point there about the cooperation of the parents. You as coaches, as ADs, parents, as you said, they're kind of the last decision making as far as the students being able to play. So you guys really need their cooperation and just understand that, hey, we're learning as we go. This is not something that there's a playbook that I can consult. Oh, during a pandemic, this is what you do. This is evolving. So what do you need to say to the parents about wanting their athletes to play, but also cooperating with the regulations?
And I think you just summed it up in the last words. Just everybody needs to follow the protocols that are in place. They're there for the safety of everybody involved, not just the people in that gym or on the field, but when you go home, you should be a little safer as well. You know, the hand sanitizer, the mask, the distance, all that stuff needs to be followed no matter who you are or where you're coming from.
Yeah, and I concur. I'd like to tell the parents that, the athletes, their safety is our primary concern during this pandemic, and we're trying to do this for them, and I know they want to play. So every time the kids participate in any kind of sports, the parents are releasing them to the care of the coaches, the athletic directors, the schools, and so we are concerned about their safety, and we're doing everything we can to make sure they stay safe. But like we said earlier, you can't be 100% sure everything's going to be safe, but we're doing everything we can, and our protocols are set up so that we're working on to make sure that they are safe, and that's our primary concern, is the safety of the kids.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Yeah. So it's funny because I had a parent-teacher conference a few weeks ago, and it's the most parents I've ever had join me for a parent-teacher conference, and it was all about sports. It wasn't about my class. And I would say the vast majority of them were like, when is sports going to start? We want sports to start. And it's really important that the parents set the example, because with all these new guidelines and protocols, you can't just do what you used to do. You can't just come and hang out at practice. You can't just come and do whatever. You have to set the example so those kids know that this is a serious matter. And if we're going to make it work, it's going to take all of us involved to make it work. So they play a big role for sure.
And also public health. In the past, when we went down to P-Core 3, they dictated how many people could be at an event. So that is going to play a part. I mean, I've seen it was 25 one time, it was 50 another time. So once you count all the players, all the coaches, and even the officials, if it's a game, it leaves very little room for parents. So they may not even be allowed, but again, that's up to public health.
And for seniors, though, this year too, there's not going to be too much game footage if they're trying to apply for sports scholarships and get seen on the national level, because you can't really rely on old footage. Coaches really want to see the up-to-date stuff and what you did your senior year. Has this affected a lot of seniors from any of your schools?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it has. I haven't heard of anybody saying I need to do this and you have some footage, can I do something? Nobody reached out and said anything to me, but I'm sure it's in the back of their mind. I want to go play someplace. How can I do this? Such a concern.
And how
doing a sports segment on a Monday morning, we've all kind of got our eyes on the TV here. I got to ask you, did everybody's team win today?
Well, my team's playing right now, and they're up. I think they're up 14-0, which is unheard of because I'm an Eagles fan, so I'm pretty excited.
Wow.
How are you feeling about Jalen Hurts taking over?
Hey, he's looking good. That's why I keep looking back. So
Yeah, he's looking good. But my Cowboys won.
yeah, that's your only fault, Marvin. Is you're a good guy, but you got one fault, and that's you're a Cowboy fan. But
I haven't heard anybody say the Cowboys won in a long time. I didn't think.
Hey, I was hoping they would lose the rest of them and get a top draft pick.
I just know that my Dolphins were losing to Kansas City. I haven't seen the final.
Oh, everybody's been losing to Kansas City. That's nothing to be ashamed of.
I know.
They lost.
Oh, gee, thanks.
Spoiler alert.
I was hoping.
Dave, you got anything else?
Yeah. So, what are there going to be other meetings around the corner just to get some more info out to parents and players? I mean, the first word went out, hey, start training. Now, what's the next step for these athletes that, are at home or doing anything virtual?
I know we're looking at starting. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
That was me.
That was Marty. That was going to say.
Oh,
Go
Marty,
ahead, Marvin. Go.
No, we were trying to get some surveys out. I don't know if they sent them out yet or if they've started them, but we're trying to get surveys to parents so we can get their input on sports and so forth, and students also, the student athletes. So once we get all that information, we'll make decisions based on that. I'm sure GDOE will make decisions based on that. So we have no control over it, but hopefully, we'll have their support and we'll hopefully get something started soon. The kids need it.
I think the kids need it. The people need it. Watching sports, again, as we all have our eyes on the TV while we're doing this interview, sports is just one of those things, man, that no matter what's going on in the world, hey, put the game on, root for your team, root for somebody else's team. It's just, it kind of helps bring everybody together. So we definitely need it. But obviously everybody's had to adjust their plans, their years based on this pandemic. So just kind of look at this as the huddle, you guys, obviously all the meetings you've had, getting together, figuring out that when you do get the go ahead, when the protocols are in place and everything is safe enough, that the next sporting events that the people are allowed to attend, I think are going to be much needed, and people are just looking for that little release and that escape from everything going on in the news. So sports, we know, is important.
Couldn't agree more.
Yep.
Totally agree.
Yes. Hopefully it all works out. The numbers, which have been dropping, but maybe came up a little bit the last several days. Hopefully the numbers keep going down. People need to keep doing what they are supposed to be doing. The distance, the mask, the hand washing, and all that, for not just for you and your family, but for everybody on Guam.
Yeah, absolutely. We all got to do this together, and the sooner we knock this out of the park, the sooner we can get back to watching live sports in person. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. We appreciate all your efforts. Looking forward to seeing those athletes out there on the field, the courts, whatever, again, soon. So thank you again. Double D, that's it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you,
Yes,
Dave.
thank you, Dave and Andy.
All
I'm sure
right,
this
we're
will
gonna
get
take
to
a
work
little bit
out
of a
just a
break.
little bit more.
Sabrina and everybody back in studio, so you guys keep it here.
Holiday federal employees and annuitants, the open season is here. Calvo's Select Care offers a comprehensive on-island network, including GMH and GRMC. Our off-island provider network stretches across the Pacific, plus our partnership